Welcome back to Monroe Tutoring, and if it's your first time, well, welcome, and let's learn some stuff. Today we're going to talk about stoichiometry, everybody's favorite topic in general chemistry. And what is stoichiometry? To put it simply, it's just the relationship between the quantities of substances in a chemical reaction. So in other words, we need a balanced chemical equation in order to see how many of each substance are going to be required in order to react and how many are going to get produced. And so if I ask you, for example, how many molecules of oxygen are required to react with 2 molecules of ethane? Well, 7 molecules of oxygen are required to react with 2 molecules of ethane. That's stoichiometry. Now, it can get more complicated. I can give you how many grams of oxygen are required to react with 100 grams of ethane, and now there's going to be more involved calculations. But let's start simple, and let's look at how to use the chemical reaction in order to convert between quantities of different substances. So let's jump right in. Let's say I give you a question, and I say, how many moles of oxygen gas are required to react with, let's just do 10.6 moles of C2H6, all right? So I want to know about moles of oxygen, and I'm given moles of ethane. So now if this is written out in a word problem, what I like to do is I have my balanced equation, and by the way, always check that it's balanced. If there are no coefficients, don't just assume that that's balanced. You have to make sure. If they put coefficients in front, it's going to be balanced. They're not going to try to trick you and like half balance an equation, okay? But I'll just always make sure that it is balanced. And then once it is, we have everything that we need to do a problem like this. So what I like to do is I'll put what I need under where it goes. So in other words, I want to know about moles of oxygen, and I just like to do this to kind of have a simplified question. So I want to know moles of O2, and I'm given 10.6 moles of C2H6, right? And now we have a little more room to work with this. Now, just like I taught you, oh, and by the way, if you don't know how to balance chemical equations, I got a video on that. And then if you haven't seen my video on dimensional analysis, go and check that out. In this particular one, we're not going to need to do molar masses, but if you haven't learned that yet, go and check that out. I also did one on moles. Just check out all the videos. There's a bunch of stuff for you guys, all right? So what we always do, and this is what I taught in my dimensional analysis video, is we always take the given information and we put it to the left. So we have 10.6 moles of C2H6. And this is what we want to convert from. And we're going to put a big parenthesis that goes across 2 lines in your notebook so that we're going to put a conversion factor here. And I want to know about moles of oxygen. So I just have to look at the chemical equation. There's 2 moles of ethane for every 7 moles of oxygen. And I like to write that out so I have a conversion factor written out. So I write 2 mole of C2H6 for every 7 moles of O2. Now, there's 2 ways we could do this. We could either say moles of this compound to moles of that compound using these coefficients, or you could scale it down to like molecules of this compound and molecules of the other compound. We cannot use these coefficients to represent grams or something like that. It has to be the ratio of either the molecules themselves or a quantity of the molecules themselves, like a mole, right? So without dwelling on that too long, because I'm going to get to that in the future, let's see how do we finish up this problem. And before we do it, guys, if these videos help you, please give a like, follow, share. And if you have any other questions that you would like me to answer, go ahead and comment or just stop by and say hi. And if you'd like to go above and beyond and really help support me to make these videos for free, then you can check out my links where you can patronize me over there. And that helps me to keep doing this stuff for you guys. All right, so thank you, and let's get back to it. So now that we've written out our conversion factor, we're just going to plug that into this fraction. And so I have moles of ethane, and I want to cancel moles of ethane, right? And so what does that mean? The one with the unit of moles of ethane has to go in the bottom. So I'm going to put 2 moles of C2H6, and then the other side goes in the top because I want moles of oxygen. So it's 7 moles of O2. And I used to say this thing, want over have. Like, what goes into your conversion factor? It's the substance that you want over the one that you have, which is just another way of saying make sure you cancel out your units, right? Units in the top, units in the bottom, that cancels. So moles of ethane cancel moles of ethane. And now let's see what we get. It's just going to be the 10.6 times 7 over 2. And we will end up with the unit that we want. So let's go ahead and punch that in real quick. And it's going to be 10.6 times 7 over 2. And that's 37.1 moles of oxygen. So what did we do here? We took the quantity of ethane that they gave us, and we found out how many moles of oxygen are required to react with it. Now, they could also have asked about any other substance in here. They could have said, how many moles of carbon dioxide are produced from the complete reaction of this many moles of ethane? Is all you would have to do is use 4 moles of CO2 on this side of the ratio instead of the 7 moles of O2. So it's always going to be the coefficient moles of the substance and then a ratio with that and whatever else they're asking you about, this many moles of that compound. All right? And then you just throw that into the parentheses and you get your answer. So again, it doesn't matter if you have info about a product or a reactant and you're asked about any of them. If it's in the chemical equation and it's balanced and you have the coefficients, you're good to go. All right, guys? So let me ask you a question now. If I gave you, let's actually just do that right there. If I give you 10.6 moles of C2H6 and I want to know how many moles of CO2 are produced, go ahead and answer that down below, and let's see who gets the answer correct. So again, please support the channel, give a like, follow, save, so you can review this later, and check out the links. I'll see you guys in the next video.